When Elon Musk talks about colonizing Mars, he's not speaking hypothetically. Behind the bold claims is an actual plan, backed by timelines, hardware, and teams working every day to bring it to life. In this video, we'll walk through how this mission has developed, from the first rocket prototypes to the first steps toward a Mars city. In 2002, Elon Musk founded SpaceX with the goal of making humanity multi-planetary. In the early years, it was about survival, building rockets that could just reach space. But as Falcon 9 became a reliable workhorse and Falcon Heavy launched successfully, the company's long-term focus began to shift towards something bigger: Mars. In 2016, Musk presented his vision publicly: a massive reusable rocket system to carry people and cargo to the Red Planet. The concept evolved, but the goal remained the same: build the transportation system that could make Mars reachable, not just for scientists, but eventually for settlers. The road to Mars begins here, in a remote part of South Texas, where SpaceX has been building and launching one prototype after another. From the outside, the pace looks chaotic: metal cylinders rising, flying, sometimes exploding. But underneath that noise is a very intentional strategy. It all started small. A stubby test vehicle called Starship lifted gently off the ground in 2019, just 150 meters up and back again. That flight didn't make headlines, but it was the first time SpaceX flew a methane-fueled rocket under real-world conditions. That engine, the Raptor, was still experimental, but it worked. And from that point on, things moved fast. Over the next 2 years, test vehicles began to look more like rockets. Some flew straight up, then fell sideways, before trying to flip and land on their engines. It wasn't always pretty. One of the earliest high-altitude tests ended in a fireball just seconds before landing. But that flight proved something more important than a soft touchdown. It showed that the vehicle could fall like a skydiver, slow itself with body flaps, and regain control right before landing. Eventually, it all came together. One of the later prototypes completed the full flight profile and touched down in one piece. For the first time, Starship showed it could fly like no other rocket had flown, and survive it. That opened the door to the next phase, stacking Starship on top of its first stage booster, the Super Heavy. Together, the system stands taller than the Saturn V. The scale is hard to grasp until you see it. 33 engines at the base, producing more thrust than any rocket ever built. The first time SpaceX lit them all was in April 2023. The launch didn't go as planned. The rocket spun out and had to be destroyed mid-flight. But for SpaceX, that still counted as a win. It cleared the pad, lifted off cleanly, and generated a mountain of telemetry that would guide every upgrade that came after. That flight also exposed weaknesses, especially on the ground. The launch mount suffered major damage, prompting a complete redesign, including a new water-cooled steel plate and upgraded flame suppression systems. Within months, they were ready to try again. The second launch, later that year, got further. This time, the stages separated cleanly. The upper section ignited in space. It didn't make it all the way around the planet, but it made it further than any previous attempt. Then came a new set of goals: catching the booster on its return, mid-air, using giant mechanical arms mounted on the launch tower. It's the kind of thing that sounds like science fiction until you see it work. And it did. Twice. The booster came back from the edge of space, zeroed in on its launch site, and was gently cradled by the tower that had launched it minutes earlier. Meanwhile, the upper stage, Starship itself, continued to evolve, but it's still facing challenges: engine failures during re-entry, thermal issues, loss of control. These are the kinds of problems that have no user manual, only trial, error, and iteration. Each time a ship fails, it feeds information back into the next one. What makes this all feel different from traditional space programs isn't just the hardware, it's the speed. SpaceX isn't spending a decade refining a single design before flying it. They're flying to refine the design, and they're doing it again and again, building toward a system that doesn't just reach orbit. It does it reliably, affordably, and often. Even now, the launch infrastructure is growing. More vehicles are being assembled, more pads are being built, and each flight, whether it ends in success or fire, moves the whole system closer to what it's really built for. Not a test range in Texas, but the vast stretch of space between here and Mars. The next major milestone is likely to be an in-space propellant transfer test. That will show whether starships can refuel each other in orbit, a key piece of making interplanetary travel affordable. The opportunity to launch missions to Mars only comes every 26 months. SpaceX plans to use that cycle to gradually scale up operations. The current target is the 2026 window. SpaceX hopes to launch up to 5 uncrewed Starships to Mars during that opportunity. The goal: test landing precision, deliver cargo, and deploy early infrastructure, things like solar panels and ISRU systems, to begin fuel production. 2028 could bring more cargo, depending on how 2026 goes. That includes more advanced equipment and possibly a semi-permanent base. Then, as early as 2029, but more likely in 2031, SpaceX wants to send the first humans. The missions would be stepwise: first cargo, then crew, each mission expanding what the previous one built toward the long-term goal of a self-sustaining presence. When the first crewed mission lands, they won't be arriving at an empty planet. There will already be cargo on site, starships preloaded with life support equipment, building materials, and power systems. Settlers will likely live inside the landed starships at first, using their interiors as pressurized shelters. Over time, inflatable habitats or pre-assembled modules could expand the base. The first missions will focus on survival, establishing power, generating fuel from local resources, and testing long-duration life support in Martian gravity. Long-term, Musk envisions hundreds of starships launching every 26 months, delivering not just cargo, but people. Over time, the base evolves into a settlement, and then into a city. A colony on Mars still faces enormous technical, logistical, and human challenges, but SpaceX isn't working toward it in theory. It's testing, flying, and adjusting in real time. Starship hasn't reached orbit yet. Mars is still a long way off, but the progress made in just a few years suggests that this isn't a distant dream anymore. It's a work in progress. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I see you in the next one.